Let's talk about some places where editors changed the Bible before it was even done being written. Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion. The fit for this video is the original Hulk. And there are a handful of stories in Genesis and Exodus and Judges where we have individuals interacting with a divine figure who is alternatively identified as both Adonai, the God of Israel, as well as the angel of Adonai, or the angel of God. And we see this with Hagar in Genesis 16, with Abraham in Genesis 22, with Moses in Exodus 3, with Gideon in Judges 6, with Manoah and his wife in Judges 13. And in all of these, they express some kind of fear that they have seen God and so they're going to die, or they are afraid to look at God because that would be deadly. And this is based on Exodus 33:20, where God tells Moses, "No one can see me and live." But there's no such restriction on seeing angels, divine messengers. It would defeat the whole point of having an intermediary. The people seem to think they're talking to God, and the divine figure frequently identifies themselves explicitly as God. For instance, in Exodus 3, in verse 2, the story says that the angel of Adonai appeared to Moses in a flame of fire in the midst of the bush. And then Moses begins to speak with that angel, who then says in verse 6, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob." And when we look in some of the other manuscripts, for instance in the Vulgate, the ancient Latin translation, or in Josephus's telling of this story, there's no mention at all of any angel. It just says the Lord appeared to Moses in the flame of fire in the midst of the bush. So there are other manuscripts evidently in play where there's no mention of an angel. And in some of the other stories, there is textual instability. So in Judges 6, where Gideon is interacting with this figure who is identified as both Adonai and the angel of Adonai, in the Septuagint, the ancient Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible, the verses where this figure is identified as the angel aren't the same as the verses where that happens in the Masoretic text. And we know from the Septuagint, from the Targumim, from the Dead Sea Scrolls, that scribes would use the Greek and the Aramaic and the Hebrew words for messenger, angel, and write them in where they wanted to obscure God's presence. So for instance, in the ancient Greek translation of Exodus 4:24, where God shows up and wants to kill Moses, it's an angel in the Greek translation as well as in the Targumim. So this is something that was going on anciently. We know scribes did this. And so most likely what happened here is these stories all originally told about these people interacting directly with God themselves. At some point along the way, probably around the exilic period, this became theologically problematic. And so someone came in and wrote the word malach, angel, in before the name Adonai or before the title God, not every time, but enough times to muddy the waters and to create the impression that we're not getting a clear idea of exactly who is interacting with these people in these stories.